Joining me now to discuss is retired Army Major General William Enyart. Major General, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be with you this evening, Nick.
Hey, so Russia isn't a part of the peace talks, but the U.S., China, India, and many others all are. What is the overall benefit of having these nations join the peace effort?
Well, the real impetus here, I think, is to get many of the non-aligned nations, the nations that really haven't taken a stance here, to line up more with Europe, NATO, and the U.S. Against Russia in this situation. Russia really is becoming a client state of China. Russia's economy is about the size of Italy or Spain, whereas China is the #2 economy in the world. So Russia really can't afford to continue waging a major war without some support from somewhere. And right now, the only place that can come from is China. So we want to make sure that we keep China out of the war, economically speaking, as well as militarily speaking.
Now, and we can also talk about how, it's clear that Vladimir Putin is the face of Russia, and that relationship with China is essential. And the fact that we have not seen him as much as we usually have, what does that tell you, General?
Well, it's interesting. With the brouhaha that they had with the Wagner Group, and Mr. Prigozhin, who essentially revolted and had his troops marching on Moscow. Then all of a sudden they turn around and now they're off in Belarus. And we've not seen much of Prigozhin either. I have to think that there's some really interesting maneuvers going on at the very upper echelons of Russian society, the Russian government and the Russian military. And you've seen many of the generals getting fired, getting replaced. Although the top two are staying in place, but they too have kind of dropped out of sight. So I think there's a whole lot of confusion going on there, and it'll be interesting to see what shakes out in the next several weeks.
And General, it seems like we're also seeing a growing level of discomfort amongst Russian civilians who are now saying, wait a minute, bombs are coming across the line here. What's giving Ukraine this ability to attack us? Is that sense of disappointment, is that sense of delusionment about Russia just running over Ukraine, is that starting to dissipate a bit?
Well, I would certainly think so. Russia's suffered massive casualties here. And of course, the fog of war totally obscures the real number of casualties. Both Ukraine and Russia certainly fudged the numbers quite a bit. But we do know that there have been massive Russian casualties here. Putin thought he was going to roll in and take it over in a few days, and certainly failed to do that. With the conscription efforts that have had to take place in Russia, and with the economic sanctions that have been placed on Russia, clearly the Russian people are beginning to wonder.
Yeah, pulling prisoners out of jail to help reinforce your troops is not a good sign. I want to switch quickly, in less than 30 seconds I have here, to talk about Iran. We're learning that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is boosting its Navy with drones in a direct response to U.S. plans to add Marines on commercial ships to prevent seizures. What's your immediate reaction to the escalating tension there?
Well, this is certainly nothing new. There's been a lot of tension between Iran and the U.S. for decades. And essentially, Iran's been engaged in piracy here in the Straits of Hormuz. These drones, they need the drones and the missiles because they really don't have much of a navy. And they've only been successful using these fast attack speedboats to seize unarmed merchantmen in the very narrow Straits of Hormuz. It's only about 30 miles wide there.
So they're picking an easy target. So we should not overinflate their success.
Oh, absolutely. The Iranians have been supplying drones to Russia, so it'll be interesting to see. And of course, they've been watching what the Ukrainians have been doing with drones in the Black Sea. We had the Iranians, the Ukrainians heavily damaged 2 Russian ships, as well as the Kerch Strait Bridge.
General Enyart, thanks again for joining us tonight. I appreciate your insight.
Always great to be with you, Nick.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.